crucial difference between supporting miners into formal systems and simply cracking down on them, like using Operation Vanguard, using the military and police to chase away miners from the mines. Where does policy most often go wrong? And what does formalization even mean in practice?
Yeah, that's I think a good question to clarify, because even the formalization term, it can have different meanings, and like you rightly mentioned, sometimes formalization has come to be equated with enforcement, right? That okay, you just impose certain conditions and demands on small-scale miners without providing them any support structures. And I think this is where policies have gone wrong mostly. And like you mentioned, Operation Vanguard, I think that was in Ghana in 2017. I think that's one of the best examples of how policies sometimes choose immediate action over long-term strategy, right? Because what Operation Vanguard did is basically banned not only illegal small-scale mining, but legal small-scale mining. So even the people that were in full compliance with the small-scale mining legal or licensing regime, which is already quite difficult to comply with for many, even though they have done that, they were still punished by state policy and the crackdowns that followed, right? So I think this is where the policies have gone wrong, and we see in Ghana too that the enforcement-centered approach has not really yielded much success, and that's for the longest time the same issues are just repeating. And this is, I think, the key issue, that these policies don't address fully the socioeconomic realities of miners, and also the economic situation of the country that pushes people into this sector, right? Because if people are driven by immediate or urgent needs for livelihoods, just enforcing crackdowns on them might not stop them to be engaging in this sector, right? If they see this to be the only viable means for them to get a kind of decent income, this will not stop the 1 or 5 million people that we have in Ghana from engaging in this. So I think this is one issue, that the policies are not comprehensive enough. Even though I know in Ghana there are some changes, there's an regime overhaul of the mining regime anticipated, so maybe it will address some of the current issues. But yeah, so far there has been more emphasis on enforcement. And coming back to what is genuine formalization, or what I would say should be the type of formalization that would align with the just transition, it should come with very practical measures that actually support the actors in the sector. It should be something that we termed in our research paper pro-people formalization, right? It should really be in their service, and not by framing them as some, I don't know, as obstacles or problems that have to be addressed, by seeing them as legitimate stakeholders in the countries, or not only in Ghana, in all impacted countries, are legitimate stakeholders that should have a say when it comes to the use and the exploitation of natural resources. And that, for instance, includes having proper access to land. For instance, also what happens sometimes is that there are large-scale mining concessions which are idle, which means they are not even being used, but at the same time, small-scale miners don't really have access to these concessions, which also oftentimes cause clashes between them. So this could be one practical measure, to reallocate lands which are occupied by industrial mines but are also not being used by them, and reallocate them to small-scale miners. Also putting in place realistic licensing regimes with costs that people can actually comply with, and that's acknowledge that people that engage in small-scale mining oftentimes come from working class backgrounds and have limited means of paying for licenses, making sure that they can they can get access to capital. They can borrow loans to, for instance, get mercury-free mining technologies, right? Because that's also the thing. Oftentimes, the miners don't have the money to even engage in more environmentally friendly mining practices, because they can't obtain the technologies. Yeah, and also just acknowledging that the sector is truly important in terms of employment, and that's a reality that we can't just ignore.